Tiffy again? Well, I'll tell you now. This is what I would do if I could build an app to help those who are blind or have low vision. I would do it to take on Be My Eyes, but it would be better than Be My Eyes. I don't know what I would call it because it's very difficult to know what name you could call it so you don't breach copyright, all this, the copyright and all the rest of the bullshit that you've got to be careful of these days. But here is what I would do. I'd make a free version first. Now, the first half an hour would be enough to get to know the volunteer and a little explanation of what you need, and if that's going to be sufficient in that half an hour, that's good, and they can help you and they can look things up for you if you need it. And they can tell you what's going on, like with your aircon or something like that. And there would also be, if I had a way to do it, a chat function. Still with a human volunteer, but instead of calling them, you're messaging them live. And if they're not there, you can send them a message and they'll reply back. But unlike Be My Eyes, of course, Be My Eyes don't do this anyway. The only chat function is that stupid AI. And that's already done enough damage. But I would not ever have AI in the app that I would create if I was able to do so. I would not allow AI to go anywhere near it. The only type of programming I would allow is a specific program that lets you report the user, like a volunteer who isn't respectful, who might start off politely and then all of a sudden they don't like what you're doing, so they start swearing at you. I'm not talking about swearing in conversation about something. I wouldn't, report. I wouldn't take reports on that because everyone swears in conversation. But the only reason I wouldn't tolerate the swearing is if someone said to the volunteer, "Why aren't you fucking helping me, you asshole?" I wouldn't tolerate that. That blind user saying to that volunteer, "Why aren't you fucking helping me? I've called you for help. You're supposed to fucking..." That is not acceptable. I wouldn't tolerate that. And no one would tolerate that. And that's the only time a program would be used to record that abuse. And once the volunteer reported the abuse or the blind user reported that volunteer for the abuse, then I would look at the situation, find out from that volunteer what started it and when it happened. And I would include a record feature so that the blind user can record the conversation so that they've got a record of what happened, whether it's a really good conversation where they had instructions on what to do, when they were doing something and they can refer back to them, or whether it's something like an abusive call where they can send the evidence to me and I can evaluate that and say to that volunteer, hang on, that's not right. You can't say to someone, I'm not going to spend my fucking Saturday night doing this or doing that. If you're not going to fucking comply, you fucking this, that and the other. I'm not going to tolerate that. And if you can't modify your behaviour, then I will delete your account. And I would not let that person create another account. If they tried to, then the system would flag them. That's what I would do. Anyway, let's get to the subscription part of it. Now, the subscription, I mean, everyone needs money, but the subscription would only be $5 a year. This is what I would do if I could. Wouldn't be that much, really. It'd be small. I could even do that myself. $5 a year is not much. That's how much I pay for Parcel, which is a good app for tracking deliveries. You only pay $5 a year, $4.99 I think it is. But if everyone paid that $5 a year, there'd be a lot of money in that program to make sure that the program is kept up to date and to make sure that systems are updated and improved, and also keep up with the training. But the subscription would also allow you unlimited calls with volunteers, and you can either call a random volunteer, like what Be My Eyes lets you do now, or I would create a history of the people you talked to, and it would say, for example, Tiffy, available. So that means I'm online and I'm ready to take your call to help you. Not that I can, but I'm just saying that's an example of what that would look like. And you could save your favourites of those who have been good to you and have helped you, however that looks like. But Be My Eyes doesn't currently do that and probably never will. Because I've had some excellent volunteers in the past. I truly have. I've even had some who have kindly financially helped me when I've needed it. I never asked for it, but they kindly have, which I sincerely appreciated, believe me. I don't expect it, but if someone is offering, well, you know, why not take that up? Like, I've even had people help me with food, for fuck's sake. I mean, we all struggle with living, but when you're blind, it's even worse because you're only on a pension, and in my case, I've got renovations to do. Shitloads of them. And I've had excellent volunteers who've been so good to me. But you can't, for example, on Be My Eyes, save them in the history. There is no history for that. You can save the Be My AI chats, but that piece of shit is complete dog shit. And I would never use that again. But I would also, if I had this app, would create a section where you can just give one-off donations if you want to. And unlike some companies, you don't have to save your card details if you don't want to. You can save them if you want to, but if you do, there would be, if I could do it, a section where you can delete your card details when you need to. And I would make sure that that is accessible for those who are blind as well. Now, as I said, don't get your hopes up. Nothing is happening. I'm not bringing out anything, but if I could, I would, and I would see Be My Eyes suffer. I would. Because I wouldn't treat people the way that I've been treated by them. Like if someone, like, for example, if I had staff who ran, like Be My Eyes do, who emailed where I couldn't email someone when there's a problem, and they said, would you like to speak to Tiffy about, what's happening, because she's the founder of whatever the app is that I would call it. This is an example, yeah? If someone is upset and saying, why the fuck is this happening to me? Now, we all swear, but I would tell them, just look, calm down and let's just discuss this rationally. And let me hear what your side is. And I'll see what I can do to help you. But one thing I won't say to them, like Hans Gordigan Viberg said to me, I'm not going to say to someone, you are talking fucking bullshit and, fucking this and fucking, I'm not going to say that to someone, because you don't say that to someone. You don't. You absolutely do not say that to someone. Absolutely not. But I tell you what, if I could develop an app that would take on Be My Eyes, I know that I could help a hell of a lot of people, because I know what it's like to not have anybody to help me. But what I would also say is, in that training, if I knew who could help me with the training of the people who would want to sign up to volunteer on the app, it's best not to mention the NDIS to people who may have been traumatized by it, because the NDIS gives nothing but trauma. So if someone doesn't want to talk about it, if you ask that person, do you have the NDIS, and maybe they don't want to talk about it because of what it's done to them, don't push it. That is part of the training I would give the volunteers who agreed to sign up. But I wouldn't let them have an account until they did the course, so that they know what they can say and what they can't say, because there's only so much you're obviously able to do from the other side of the world, but it's the way that you talk to people that counts. And when you're like Viberg and you treat people as if they are a bit of dog shit on your shoes, then that's going to create psychological trauma for them. And those people may never ask for assistance from anyone again. And I'm getting close to that. I'm getting seriously close to that. Because this Be My Eyes has caused me nothing but psychological trauma. But no one offers anything else. And if I could, I would offer all of us that. Now, I couldn't use it myself, obviously, because it would be my company. So I can't talk to myself and get help from myself. It just wouldn't work. But seriously, blind people can do anything they want to do if they set their mind to it. But to not offer training for Be My Eyes volunteers so that they know how to help you properly, that is just a disaster and a danger waiting to happen. And it's already happened with me. And now I'm suspended because some fucktard said something that was good for them in terms of being my eyes to hear. And I just get a fucking AI-generated response. No thanks. I'm not accepting that type of response.